I think there's been a fairly dramatic transformation within China on the domestic political front over the past 5 years. I think Xi Jinping, to some extent, has been a fairly transformative, revolutionary even leader. There's been far greater centralization of power under Xi Jinping himself. I think an effort to make the Communist Party far more robust, to have it penetrate more deeply into Chinese society and the Chinese economy. The Chinese Communist Party can better control ideas and influences coming in from outside, but at the same time allow Chinese influences and ideas to go out. So I think we're looking at a very different China today than we had 5 years ago. I think it's probably most evident if you were to look at the internet and the sort of cyber world and how vibrant that was back in 2012 when you had people agitating for change. And those voices have largely been silenced over the past 5 years. And that kind of very vibrant civil society discourse and interchange has become much more quiet. He has made a lot of effort to ensure that his supporters are promoted to the most important positions within the People's Liberation Army. He has also restructured the nature of the military to increase the power of the Navy and the Air Force to make it equivalent to that of the People's Liberation Army. He's restructured geographically the districts for the military. So I think in 5 years, he has, for the most part, I think quite effectively cemented his authority over the military. Not only that, but he's really elevated the role of the military. The military should view Xi Jinping as a leader that is very supportive of a stronger, more powerful military and therefore of their overall objectives. That is not to say that there aren't individuals who may have different preferences, who may be tied to a different Chinese leader from the past. But I think overall he's become a fairly significant authoritative voice for the Chinese military. If not at this point, then certainly sometime leading up to the next party Congress or at the next party Congress, his name will be next to the thought. It will get there because there is no doubt that he considers himself to be the heir to Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping and now Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping is the third revolution within China since the founding of the People's Republic of China. So I think he sees himself that way. The Maoist personality cult also included the ability of Mao Zedong to unleash absolutely tumultuous, destructive forces within China, right? The most destructive forces that the country has experienced in the 70 or so years. I don't think that the cult of Xi Jinping will go so far. But I do think, looking back even through the first years of Xi Jinping, there's definitely been an element of that cult-like behavior. The songs and the poetry and the fact that he came out with his book of speeches very early on. All of that, I think, is very cult-like. But I don't think it will be the equivalent of a Mao Zedong cult. I'd love to see a standing committee of the Politburo that had, Li Keqiang, Wang Yang, Li Yuanchao, and Han Zheng, because I think that would be a standing committee that would have a reasonably progressive outlook and one that would be more open to the outside world as opposed to trying to close off, Chinese politics to outside influences. I don't think that's what we're going to see. I think that whoever is selected is likely to be a supporter of Xi Jinping. I don't think we're going to see a major shift emanating from this party Congress in terms of the direction of China. And honestly, I think that's the most important thing that we should be looking for from the party Congress. I think he will stay if, in fact, Xi Jinping does not feel as though there is anyone else who is capable of working with him in the same way on the anti-corruption campaign. Obviously, the anti-corruption campaign has not slowed down. And it seems to me that they want to continue at this same very aggressive level to ferret out corruption within the party. And he's done a masterful job of that. But I think if Xi Jinping felt as though there were someone else, Chen Min or somebody else who could play that role, then he would say, yes, it's time for Wang Qishan to step down. I don't think that there is a lack of supporters within the potential new members of the Standing Committee of the Politburo for Xi Jinping. I mean, people mention Liu He or Wang Huning or, all sorts of names that are bandied about. But for the most part, I think they're very much in line with Xi Jinping's thinking. As important as Xi Jinping is to the U.S.-China relationship at this point, probably even more important is our own president, President Trump. President Trump is most interested in personal diplomacy, sees President Xi as someone with whom he would like to do business. He would like to have a relationship. So I think that is a positive element. On the other hand, the two issues that President Trump has identified for his priorities in the U.S.-China relationship, namely North Korea and trade, are two areas where there is substantial conflict in the U.S.-China relationship. So I think we have highly conflictual issues, yet a president who would like to maintain a positive diplomatic relationship with his counterpart in China. You also have our cabinet that is, in many respects, our Secretary of Defense and National Security Advisor, who really are, for the most part, pursuing very much President Obama's foreign policy, right? Maintaining the rebalance or the pivot and trying to ensure that our relations with all of our allies in Asia remain strong, and robust. And while they want to work with China, they also see China as quite challenging. So it's a complicated mix here in the United States as we look out toward China. And I think we'll have a good taste of what is to come after the president visits China in November. I don't think that's the case in China. I don't think anybody is battling Xi Jinping at this point. I think Xi Jinping has already been anointed emperor for the next 5 years.